Welcome to Rock Solid, the Round Rock Business Leaders Podcast. Join your host, Bryan Eisenberg, as he explores the journeys of entrepreneurs and companies across Round Rock, Texas. From startups to large organizations, each guest shares their passion for doing business in this thriving community. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bryan Eisenberg, and I'm here with my friend Lee Linton from Office Evolution. Lee, you have an extensive experience as an entrepreneur, not only here in Round Rock, but obviously before that. I want to cover a whole range of stuff today with you. I want to kind of learn a little bit about what you do at Office Evolution with this flex space, and obviously, our company has had our office there since we first got started. Actually, almost since before we got started, when we first had to just create an identity and start filing paperwork, all the way to where we are now and move to a nicer office and all that. But let's roll back. Let's talk about how did you get to the Round Rock community initially?
So I came to the Round Rock community originally as a corporate move. It was a corporate relocation from Georgia, from Atlanta, to Round Rock with a company that moved me here for a leadership role to run Central Texas for them. And the industry I was in prior to, doing what I would just consider full-on entrepreneurial career after that career in telecommunications industry.
And what's interesting is I know that, being in the telecommunications industry, there was a lot of disruption, obviously, from standard telecom until, now everybody's with a mobile phone. But you had used a term that I also recommended to a lot of businesses, the Adobes of the world and stuff like that, of this intrapreneur, that if you're not trying to disrupt your own business today, someone else will.
Absolutely.
So tell me, why'd you decide to come up with that, and why was that so important in your career?
So I actually, one of my mentors he just recently retired, congratulations to him, has a beautiful place in Colorado now, but that's a term he and I had come up with because that's what we did in the world we lived. You were constantly being brought into a situation from an M&A event. You were either the acquired or you were the acquirer. But you were brought in or soon to oversee underperforming parts of the business, and your job was to make them, the meaningful contributors that they were supposed to be, either by the additions that you took on or by what you took over that was broken. And so in most cases, you had full P&L. So you were running your own business within a larger corporate structure. So it was very entrepreneurial, with one caveat, which is you did get a guaranteed paycheck.
Yes.
Which is very different when you do the real entrepreneurial experience, right? Sometimes you're the only one that doesn't get the paycheck.
Well, and you probably also had a lot more resources from some of the bigger companies you're walking into. Let's talk about that. Let's focus in there, because I think that's an interesting place. You offer flex space, so people first starting out, they can get office by the hour. They can just show up. They can show up monthly. They can have a full suite. You've even got now suites there that seat six people in a suite.
Yeah, we have some enterprise suites that have 4 and 5 offices that are all behind a single closed door. Yeah.
So, knowing what you know from those big companies and looking at some of these new ones, what's a couple of the key lessons you've learned in all of those transitions? Because you've had 6 exits.
Yeah.
That a lot of the businesses that you speak to on a regular basis, they're just missing out on.
The biggest thing is I would say just do. That's the first thing. You can plan until you're exhausted of planning, and I promise you, by the time you get done planning, you'll miss the window to do. So you have to, oftentimes, just do it. If you're experienced, don't be afraid of that, because you're probably a good decision maker. You're good at taking in information, sorting it quickly. And if you've done something that's wrong, well, then you'll course correct, and then you'll do it again. And you just repeat the process over and over and over. Hopefully you built a good plan. But I don't care how good your plan is. I promise you it's going to require some alterations to continue to be successful. All kinds of things happened, right? Competitors you didn't know of are there. You just didn't know. Staff. Sometimes your staff, throws you curveballs. So there's just all kinds of, and in the world we live in now, most recently, the macroeconomic climate, with 13 interest rate hikes in less than 2 years. Those are all things that you had a great plan, but something came at you that was not planned for, and you still have to survive, right? And you learn actually how and why so many companies do go out of business. I don't know what the statistic is nowadays, but it's easy to see why. Because if you're not prepared, you'll fail. And the other thing I would say is every room you go into, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Let's dissect both of those, because I think there's some really valuable pieces there. So the just do, I think it was it Mike Tyson who's going to be fighting shortly, who said
everybody has a plan to get hit in the mouth
until you get hit in the mouth. Exactly, right? And I think that's one of the key things. It's how do you keep moving forward? Yeah. And I found the same thing right through all the companies that I've consulted to and been an advisor to, the ones who've exited and stuff like that. They, besides being innovative, right, which is a piece to it, if you can't execute, if you don't have a propensity to execute, there's just no chance you're going to survive. And so when startups would come talk to me about advising, I'd give them like a little something to go do, and if they couldn't get it done, I knew I didn't want to get involved because they just weren't going to execute. And that's such a big piece. Yeah,
and as you get good at what you do, we both have consultancies on top of what we do. As kind of the company shingle that we carry, but you also become fortunate in a way that you also know those aren't clients you want either, because if they're not going to do things that are free, they're certainly not going to do the things later on that they're going to pay you to do. And I've made that mistake as well, where sometimes you offer free too long, and that's not good for you. And then also, the people that show you that they're not going to act. Somehow it becomes your fault later when they don't, follow any of the direction you've given them, even though it's clear that they didn't take any of the steps you recommended.
Yeah, my mentor was wise enough to tell me, it's either free or full price.
Yeah.
If free's not working, full price is never going to work. So it's just like, you can always start with a little nugget first, let them go away, see how they come back, and change that. Smartest person in the room. Now, this is interesting because this is something that. I've been in other co-working spaces in the past, and there's obviously a whole bunch of startup spaces, in the Austin area as well.
Sure.
But there's something interesting that you guys also try to do at Office Evolution, and try to create some of that culture of people connecting with each other. Do you think that helps in terms of making sure you've got other smart people in the room?
Oh, absolutely. Right. It's a culture, right? People always think we're in the real estate business, and kind of the brick and mortar, yes, we are, right? We are in commercial office space. We provide, temporary commercial office space to others. But we're really in the hospitality space, right? We are building community, and that community is probably the most important thing. I think our model is pretty simple. We got to be easy to find. You got to show well, and then when people come to experience it, it's got to fit what they want as that experience. So, prior to the pandemic, co-working was almost exclusively with professional service people, attorneys, CPAs, bookkeepers, financial planners. During the pandemic, many people found co-working all over the world because they couldn't work at home, or they didn't want to work at home. And so we are a postal service, and by that rule, we have to deliver the mail. And so we had to be open. Well, we were some of the only businesses open in some communities. And so people that wanted to work found us. And for the small business, especially the small business, if they don't work, they don't make any money. So they had to work, and they had to find other people that were working. And so a lot of people found each other in the co-working communities around the world. And that's been kind of a gem that I really wasn't expecting, but I love it. And the other thing I love about it is it's such a growth mindset community. Just about everybody you're going to encounter, even the ones that are large enterprise companies that are, gave up a 20,000 square foot office and they've left the market. Well, they still have people in the market, and they want those people to have a nice place to go to work. And even those people, they're enterprising people working for a large company in the space with all these other growth-minded people. And so everybody you run into, there's like no rainy day people in the space, because everybody chose to be there, right? It's an inspiring place for them to work. And when they run into each other, we love that. And then a lot of them run into each other deliberately because we want those collisions. We know what everybody does. And we get asked 10 times a day, do you know anybody that does home health, for instance? Right? So we do. And chances are we know a few of them. And even the people who are competitors to each other, they cooperate because you may be full. You may be at capacity for your staff. So you need somebody to cooperate with and maybe give them a client, and it will get reciprocated.
Yeah. And there's such a range of companies that are at Office Evolution here in Round Rock, which is fascinating because, I mean, I've met people, like you said, who are from corporate worlds that, some of the big companies out there that unfortunately they don't have a location here. So, one of the big social network that people know, I've met people there, to people who are just starting out their new consulting business to, people who are doing, HVAC work and other stuff.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us that range of what that person who comes to look at? Because I know it is so diverse.
It's incredible. And the other thing I would add to that is when you're in the space, you can encounter about 120 to 130 people that are physically present any given day by the offices, the co-working, the meeting rooms, the conference rooms. But there's 3 to 4 times that many that all they have with us is some kind of business or virtual mail service that we provide. But guess what? We know what they do too. And so you may never see them, but we know who they are. When you come to the desk and ask, hey, do you know anybody that does whatever? We do. A great example is we have a drone pilot. He does aerial surveys. I didn't know there was such a thing. I didn't know you had to even have a license to do it.
Yep.
And I didn't know that many people actually care to have aerial footage of what they do. And apparently now everybody wants aerial footage, especially in the real estate space. So that's just a great example of a really niche business that I never even knew about, didn't even know it existed, that we know what he does. And so it's easy for us to refer business when we get asked those questions. Another thing that happens, marketing people that are working with other people, and they notice, hey, one of the things you don't have on your website is you don't have any aerial footage of your space. People need to see that. And so, it just becomes a referral of a referral, but we keep it in the community, right? And we keep track of it. I mean, we have probably 30% of our people do business with each other from running into each other, either by our involvement or their own just collisions in our space. Yeah, and that's the community aspect.
Yeah, which I love because the big part of the show is about community, and of course, Bill Combs is also part of our show.
Sure.
He has his team meet there. You have different meetings there, like
Vistage meets there.
Vistage.
One of the Vistage chapters meets there. There's multiple companies, professional companies that do like certification meetings, quarterly, ongoing education for like therapists and other things that require the ongoing coursework to keep their licensing. They have their quarterly or annual meetings there. And that's the other thing we find is we obviously hope everybody has a great experience. And when they do, one, we live by reviews, like most small businesses do. And then the other thing is they're repeat customers. So we're not always looking for new business all the time. In fact, we've had several members that in just our 3 years that we've been open, they've moved in and out 3 times.
Okay.
And their world changed, their needs changed, they moved out. Something else changed, they moved back in. Some of it's personal, some of it's professional. And they know where we are. They know what the experience is. It's been quantified in their brain. It's high quality in their brain. They love to they don't even shop. They just come right back. And if we have something, that's the real trick is if we have something, we've been fortunate to be successful. So when things come open, they don't last very long. But that's a good thing, right? That helps. That tells me that one, the industry is healthy, and two, we're probably doing it right.
Now, you've been an entrepreneur since you're like in a young teen, like 13 years old, right? Yeah. Probably. So, and you've been through, all of these different businesses, and you see all of these different businesses. What is it about Round Rock in the Central Texas area? I know you're about to expand into Georgetown as well. That makes it such a great environment for entrepreneurs and local business owners.
Well, I think as they'd call it the suburbs, right? We're a suburb of Austin. Austin is very attractive to the tech community. And there's a lot of companies that are, peripheral companies that serve the tech community. That alone has an attraction of a lot of different companies in that space. It's the North American headquarters for Dell Technologies, which is literally, as a crow flies, quarter mile of where our space is. And so that itself brings a lot of people. But the community itself, Round Rock specifically, has always been high, ranks very highly for safest communities, best place to raise kids, outdoor activities. I think it's the youth sports capital of America or something like that. So there's a lot there that you don't have to do much but live in that community and hopefully contribute to, what makes the community tick, to make it go round. And that's actually for me part of what I really wanted to do this concept and do it specifically in Round Rock because of that, right? I knew that community existed, and I felt like what we provide in the community was an underserved resource, and it's proven to be true.
100%. And there are other, there's other co-working spaces out there.
Sure.
But what do you guys do? And there's other franchises of Office Evolution, but there's something about what you and Susie do and your team that really try to make this stand out compared to other offices.
Yeah.
And if you were going to share that little magic sauce that you use, and I think you've kind of alluded to it in our conversation anyway, to other entrepreneurs, no matter what business they're in, because you've seen this diversity of business, what's that little magic sauce?
Well, I think most people, especially entrepreneurs, they land on what they want to do as a business because they're probably solving a problem. Oftentimes it's a problem that they themselves have, but not always. And in my particular case, we saw that this was an underserved resource for this community. We obviously could not have predicted, global pandemic, but there's so many people post-pandemic that, have found themselves in their own way, and we're a great stepping stone for them, right? They've outgrown the home-based capability. They can only meet their clients at their spaces so often. Coffee shops have become, less attractive places to meet because of cybersecurity risks and other things, and so they need a professional place to do it. And like you mentioned earlier, I mean, you can meet for as little as an hour. You can have an office, every month. We've had members that have some of our very first members that we still have from the day we opened. And, we always have this kind of revolving 30% that is, new businesses. And we've had many businesses outgrow us as well. And, you've seen our slogan because your company's a member there. Your success is our success. It's a double-edged sword, right? That means you've outgrown us, but that's okay. That's part of what we feel like our function or our role is in your journey. And
you get to be that launchpad.
Right. And I think that selflessness and understanding kind of what our role is what makes the difference. I'd love it if everybody stayed forever. It would make my business a very easy business to run, but also wouldn't be as exciting as it is either.
Yeah, it's very dynamic because it does
fluid,
change.
Incredibly fluid. Yeah.
Let's focus in a little bit on Round Rock because you've been here in a while. You've had kids here and stuff like that.
Yep.
What's some of your favorite places in Round Rock?
Santiago's is a local watering hole that we go to eat and drink frequently. My wife, one of our favorite restaurants is Jack Allen. So usually when we have anybody that's coming in from out of town, it's always a good experience. Anything on the menu is excellent food. The waits aren't terribly bad in most cases. I think Round Rock also still has small town feel. There's obviously a lot of national branded things here, but you can find things that are unique to this area. And then just the access that you have to all the different outdoor activities that you can do. We live on a green belt. We can literally walk out our back gate, walk through a cedar thicket, and we're on the Brushy Creek hike and bike trail that I think now goes it's gonna eventually go all the way to Hutto.
Yep.
And it goes all the way to Cedar Park. I think it's 28 or 29 miles in total length. That's just incredible.
Just a casual walk.
Yeah, just a casual walk. I mean, you might want to bike that, but and it's been great to raise kids. Our kids went to the elementary school that they walked to. Then middle school is not far from there, and then Round Rock High School. I think all the schools were great preparation for them. One of my kids has graduated from college. The other one is soon to graduate. And it was just very good place for business, for family, friends, development. It's always been in a growth mode, but it's been responsible growth. That's the other thing I would say about it. I grew up as a kid in San Antonio, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that was unique about San Antonio. It was never the fastest growing, but it was almost never depressed either, which says something, right? And to me, Round Rock is a little faster paced than that because of the tech community that surrounds us. But that's okay. It's been a fairly responsible growth strategy, in my opinion. And working through the chamber, I've told Jordan and the people at the chamber, I think they're the best chamber in the state of Texas.
I would tend to agree with that from everything I've heard as well.
Maybe in the U.S., right? I've been a member of a lot of chambers in my past life and handed out a lot of awards and seen the dues that we pay for what we get. And I think the Round Rock Chamber is, hands down, tops.
So if listener pops onto the show and they're listening and they needed to get that last one piece of wisdom from you with all of your business experience, maybe they're getting ready to start a business. Maybe they're just a solopreneur getting started. What are you leaving them with?
The one thing I would tell you is make sure you have the funding to do what you think you're about to do. It's the easiest way for you to not be able to continue. Most people, they run out, but you can also grow too fast. So if you come out with something that's a revolutionary design or concept and you bring it to market sooner than you can supply the demand that it creates, those companies go out of business too. And so the one thing I would say is make sure that you either are funded or you have access to funds to continue your journey, and have some plan Bs and maybe even some plan Cs that usually also require additional funding. And that's the biggest advice I would give anybody is have some financial stability around what you think you're about to do. Otherwise, it will be a short journey.
Awesome. If people wanted to learn more about you and Office Evolution, where can they find more information?
So our website, we're a franchise, so Office Evolution /locations/round-rock. You could also, at the end of that, have Georgetown. It opens in about a month. There'll be things you can pick from there. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can contact me on LinkedIn. Susie Linton, my wife, who's in the business, she's on LinkedIn. Any one of those vehicles can get you to where one of us can meet with you, talk with you, engage with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.